There we go.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, we have a split screen. Thank
Now we
you.
can see you both. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'd like to call to order our first meeting of the Planning Commission for 2025. And Ms. Reynolds, would you please call roll, please?
Mr. Dowdy?
Here.
Mr. Babinet?
Here.
Mr. Capelli?
Here.
Mr. Conley?
Here.
Dr. Curran?
Here.
Ms. Hennessy?
Here.
Mr. Avila?
Here. Good. Everybody's present. First on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the December 4th Planning Commission.
They're done, they're just not to you yet.
Okay, we haven't got it yet, but they're done. We'll move on to the special call minutes. Okay. Okay, then we'll save that. Public comments. You'll get a chance later, but come on up now, Sherry.
I read it.
Well, good.
I got some comments about it. Sherry Gallagher, 119 Spartina Court. I did this last year, so I'm not got a lot of details, but I wrote down the page number. Like, for example, I'm really excited about page 29 in the Kiowa Island Alliance, where we're going to have coordination between Kika and the town. Very excited about that. I will sign it first. Page 49 and other places within this document, it refers to living with nature philosophy and the live with nature approach. And I think it'd be wise to have some more details about what we mean by that. Of course, that's a warm, fuzzy set of words, but it should be a written principle, I think, somewhere within the document. And then the other three things are things I'm very excited about. You are thinking outside of the box, and I'm going to be keeping track to see if these things really happen. One of them is a centralized communication channel.
What page are you on, Sherry?
Page 84, centralized communication channel. And then on page 74, you refer to a Kiowa Island Historical Society. Very exciting, what a great idea. And finally, I hope this happens too, page 125, a water ferry for transportation from Rutz Bluff, perhaps. So excited about that. So thank you for thinking out the box. I'm really excited about what the future of Kiowa holds. And this is a great document to keep us on track. Thank you.
Thank you. And I notice John is taking notes, so I'm sure we'll get those addressed. Any other comments? Okay, John, want to walk us into old business?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I want to do today for the commission is just recap first where we are in this Kiowa Next process, the update of our comprehensive plan, and then really today's purpose, based on our agenda, is to review the public comments that we've received to date. So you recall at our previous meeting in December, we shared that we would schedule a public session to allow public comments, to allow the public to engage with the plan as drafted to date. And we held that particular drop-in here at the town hall. What's been provided to you in your materials is sort of a summary of those comments. Many of them just straight verbatim, either from just conversation and dialogue with the persons who were in attendance, in addition to those that have been submitted online via our online portal. So those have been the two methods of us receiving comments. And today, Ms. Gallagher provided some additional comments. I hope you've shared those online with us in the future. So if you could put those in so we have a formal record of it, but we have made some notes of those as well. So today we'll review the listed comments, and there's an exercise that I want to engage the commission with based on a few of those comments that I think just to get your sort of support. And as we move forward in making some modifications to the plan based on the public input that has been received. So I would direct your attention to the handout that was provided to you as part of your materials. And just to kind of recap sort of the quantity or quality of comments that have been submitted. We did receive online portal submissions from 4 persons to date, and 5 members of the public attended. So not really a significantly amount of public participation as we anticipated, but that's pretty normal in rhythm for our, what I would say, public sessions of things that are not sort of heightened or early procedural type process inputs. What the public comment summary has done has been broken down by element. And so I'll review those, and then we'll spend some time, particularly on the land use element. Particularly, we'll pull up the land use map, the future land use map, which I do want to have you guys engage on a few recommendations that have been provided as part of the public comments that we've received. Also, regarding the governance structure, we've received comments regarding the Kiowa Alliance to date. That has been continued to be a subject of interest to the community. We know that you guys have already had some debate, some conversation, dialogue on how progressive, how not aggressive, the structure, the format. And so there is still, I think, some opportunity for us to really nail down exactly what do we envision that Kiowa Island Alliance being represented as. So for purposes of the Kiowa Next Comprehensive Plan update, I do want to hear from you guys in this session of any final comments or thoughts on how you envision the Kiowa Island Alliance in its operative state or in its idea as a vehicle. We know that vehicle was set up based on the structure of Kiowa, the governance structure, to ensure that we are collaborative, to ensure that we are communicating between the many entities that have purview of Kiowa's quality of life. And so I do want to be able to have some commentary from you guys. Now, Mr. Chair, we can stop after each element. That way staff can make some just general notes of after each element, or we can power through however you kind of see fit. Want to keep going, or?
I say keep going.
Okay.
Sure.
Regarding the population element, there are a few comments relative to just the mixture of ages on the island. This has been something I think that the Planning Commission has discussed. We don't have a diverse, what I would say traditional diverse community as far as demographic-wise. Our diversity is in its state of the seasonality of a mixture of part-time, full-time visitors and that sort of demographic. But there is discussion or at least comments submitted around how do we interplay with families during vacation, and how does that fit in the overall narrative of visitors population on Kiowa. Regarding the economic development section, this played into a lot of discussion of what happens in our sort of commercial village, fresh fields, the heightened portions of the year during seasonality of peak season, if you will. And that is tangentially related to how many people are on the island and the activities that occur during that particular time. One comment, they received the encouragement of using or encouraging affordable workforce housing on Johns Island. I know that the commission has continued to kind of discuss how that looks in application. Is that formal submissions or formal letters of support for particular projects? Is it being a vehicle to have dialogue with other property owners to help that? Is that conversations with the resort and their particular future plans? So these are all elements. What I'm trying to do is get you guys to understand all elements that we should at least either throw a nod to or say, hey, we should peel back and add a little bit more depth to. Let's see,
John, can I ask a quick- John, assuming we read this all, assuming we read this all, what are we trying to do today? We're trying to read it all together, or what?
No, what I want to do is, if you guys have generally understanding comments, I want to say put some value to these comments.
Today,
Say,
we want to do that today? Okay.
Are they generally things that we should consider? And then that way, in the next couple of weeks, while we're massaging the document, we have at least, we don't have to come back to you guys to get that information if you believe that this is sort of what we should be influencing the document by.
That sounds more like a working session than it does, than it does a council meeting or a commission meeting.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think we don't have a whole lot on the agenda today, so I think we could use this time to do that. But if you would prefer not to, then we can,
No, I just want to know what our objective is, and then I
Yeah.
can kind of gear into
the,
it.
the objective is to look at these comments and say, hey, we think that this is valuable, and we think that the plan should be altered to consider these things. So if it's something that you think that is just kind of out of bounds or not in line with the vision of the comprehensive plan, then that's kind of what I'm asking,
Okay,
listening for
so
today.
let me just kind of play back what I heard from you. So what we want to go through is and say, oh, yeah, valid, yeah, I think we should look at this. No, cross that out. Next item. Is that what we're
Yeah,
trying to?
not that literally, but just either head nods, like we think that this is generally should be in the plan. This is something that we definitely should expound upon. I do think that with the Kiowa Alliance, there isn't a clear representation of what that means. I mean, we've bounced that back and forth. We went pretty aggressively, we pulled back. And so I want to gain from you guys where your mind is today on the Kiowa Alliance and its framework. That's just one kind of example.
So let me respond to that first one, just based on what you just said. Yes, I think we'd like to hear what Kika, and I think we should have more discussion on that. Second one, we need to be cautious in growing the town with too much responsibility or cost. I would discount that because we covered that pretty extensively when we were developing the plan.
Okay, so
I
let
would-
me
One
do
thumbs
it.
up, one thumbs down.
Let me do it this way. Is there anything from the public comments that you've seen that you think we need to spend additional time that's not in the current plan? And I'll just pull back in general.
Let's go back to the KIA,
Okay.
because we have gone aggressive, we've pulled back, and, we've discussed this, I think there's probably differing opinions as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy expressed a lot of opinions at our last meeting, recommended some change in wording and things like that. I think the rationale behind us pulling back was we don't want to make it the focus of the comprehensive plan when we can't guarantee what's going to happen, whether these entities are actually going to form this alliance and how functional it's going to be.
Yeah, and the thought pattern is we can't guarantee anything in a comprehensive plan will be able to effectively get done, but we want to at least set the tone. And from my perspective, we want to set the tone of, so if it's the tone of, we would encourage all of the entities to buy in. I think that's, from staff's perspective, the direction that I would recommend.
I mean, I went through all these and, keeping in mind that they're the opinions of a very limited number of people, but, we can address them. I mean, do we really want, to avoid, a request to avoid increasing the average age of the island's population? I don't think that's something we should be focusing on, for example. So I didn't know, I assumed when I read this that we would do another work group, maybe with our subcommittee who worked on that, to go through all this when we go through the next iteration, because there were a bunch of things. I actually went through all of the comments that had been sent previously by all the commissioners to see which of those comments actually made it into this most recent draft. And there were a few, not major, but there were a few things that didn't make it in that I think, we might want to revisit. But I don't think in this large group is the place to do it.
So let me do this then. I think that there, at least for the land use section, there were a couple of things that I think, generally speaking, on future land use map, that some nods of heads would be appreciated from staff's perspective. That way we can begin to update our future land use map accordingly. And if there are any hesitations to that, one being this property where we are currently located, our Kiowa Island Municipal Center, is currently our future land use designation that is mixed use. There's a recommendation to take that to a civic and institutional. That civic and institutional future land use designation aligns more with those types of uses, schools, community centers, government offices, and that fits in. So that was one of the recommendations to modify our future land use map to civic and institution opposed to mixed use.
Can I ask you, John, when it changed to mid-use? I went back to all our previous iterations, including the 2015 plan, and it was always civic and institutional. In all the early iterations, it was civic and institutional. The very first time I saw it as mixed use was on that big map here the day of the community drop-in.
It's always been mixed use associated with the plan development. So this particular property and the Fresh Fields, which are two plan developments, have been identified as our mixed use, outside of what we constitute mixed use as the resort type zoning districts. But because of the way the plan developments were written for those two properties, it's been categorized as the mixed use.
Okay, because in previous plans, they were different colors. Maybe it's an ink thing, but they were
Yeah.
different colors in previous plans. This one
Yeah,
was-
we modified the color to kind of help clean up some of but the color swatch were kind of help differentiate. So I won't belabor any more time. I think what I hear from you, I'll give you guys what I anticipate as our next steps, if that's the sort of consensus of the body, if there's more kind of dialogue that we want to spend here at this time discussing any particulars of the Kiwa Next plan. I really wanted you guys to provide anything from your perspective based on any feedback that we've received to date from public comments.
John, do you have any intention of calling for a vote on whether or not the commission would recommend this to council?
Not at this time.
As in its
I meant
current
to-
draft?
Not at this time.
When would that be?
So that alludes to my previous comment. So based on where we are in the revisions that need to be made, I don't anticipate that this would be ready for council's consumption to date. And so what I want to do is be able to sit down and per direction and consultation with the mayor as well. He's provided some additional comments and feedback. And so using an opportunity to sit down to review those comments along with establishing probably another work group session prior to us making this going forward within a public review or approval process. So at least I anticipate another month before we will present a revised formal document back for approval.
Which group is going to vote on that?
The
The current
revisions
planning
or the-
commission, the next planning commission, any planning commission?
Well, it's all based on timing.
It would just be based on the timing, yeah. When I foresee that we aren't ready at this stage, so we won't be taking any action today. Is February that time frame? We will work aggressively to try to get to February, but it just depends on those edits.
And you have no idea what that timing is?
No, sir. I anticipate another 2 to 3 weeks of working through the document. I do want to meet with the commissioners to gain you guys' input directly as we have been doing, but I don't want to present a formal document for approval without that process occurring, because we'll end up in a cycle of going back through revisions again before we get to that end stage, if you will.
One of your last comments, I'm going to hold off on my concern, and I'm going to raise that at the end of the meeting and commissioners' comments with council. But as far as the comments, I definitely agree we need to address the first comment on structure with respect to KIA. The fact is, we did. And we not only did it, we went through it and agreed on it, and it didn't result in any changes. So I don't know what you're waiting for in terms of additional comments, but they're obviously not ours, because we gave you comments, and everybody had a copy of them at the October meeting, I guess, or November meeting, whatever it was. And they were well spelled out in terms of what is required. There's no changes that were made, except to some, what I would call grammatical changes, but the whole concept that we agreed on is not included in here. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but no one seems to understand on the, what I would call the other side, whoever's making comments on the other side that you're acting on, no one seems to understand the whole concept, period. I mean, if anybody understood what the CFO roundtable is like, that's what this is supposed to be. It's not that. You do not have the CFO roundtable described here. You don't have any of the concepts that drive that group that would be needed to operate an effective KIA in the here. It was given to you in the November meeting. Either somebody decided they didn't want it, somebody decided they didn't need it, or somebody never understood it, or decided they don't know what they're talking about. One or the other, but we have basically given you views that are not reflected in this document.
So I just want
So
to,
whenever you decide to get a vote, that's up to you. But I don't care when you do it, unless it's done right, I wouldn't agree with it.
yeah, so I just wanted to reiterate, I mean, the purpose of that, the QI Alliance, I think we understand the purpose of it is, I think, trying to really define how it should be dispelled in the comprehensive plan. Is it truly aspirational, or is it a little bit more refined in identifying roles and responsibilities? And I think that's where I want you guys' comfortability. So if your position is leave it as how it is, that's fine. We can move and leave it how it is. I'm just presenting to you today in that perspective.
The specific comment addressed that. And we had that very clearly in MP1. It said, develop an annual agenda of strategic topics. Sorry, that's your language. Our language was basically to get agreement first before you started doing anything else, that basically said how the alliance would operate, and you've got to get that agreement before you start the operation, not after.
Okay, so noted.
Yeah.
John?
The only other two big points I'll put out in regarding the future land use map is Ocean Park. This has come up a few times now. And Ocean Park today in our future land use map is identified as medium density residential. There was many talks even before we kind of started this process to modify and change those particular properties to low density residential. So I just wanted to put that on you guys' radar, that may be a staff level suggestion that we make of changing the future land use designations from medium density to low density. But we do want to take a process where we reach out to the Ocean Park property owners to ensure that there's support for that.
I actually did that, and I talked to one of the owners who's an HOA, who's on the HOA board for Ocean Park.
Have them send us something so that we have that, that would be
They definitely
great.
are supportive of, they were surprised that it wasn't R1,
Yeah,
but
you
they
can have-
don't know the history, so.
Yeah, we can discuss them
Want me
sending
to,
us.
I will,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely.
So Joanne, who did you talk to?
Oh, Paul Kurth.
I mean, but what's his role?
He's on the HOA board. for
On the HOA
Ocean-
board?
For
Okay.
Ocean Park.
And he's able to speak for the HOA board?
He's on the HOA board. I'm not going to say who he speaks for or not, but they're a pretty
Well,
tight.
that's what I'm trying to understand. Is that an individual opinion, or is that a community opinion?
You know, I think it's a community opinion from at least a dozen
Okay, well,
Ocean Park
should we
people.
knock that down first before we?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I can ask him to poll Ocean Park. I'll let you deal with it.
Yeah, that's the purpose of, to Mr. Iwan's point. We want at least representatives from the HOA to kind of guide us, just like we've had in the past regarding zoning matters.
Yeah, no, I did talk to him at some length about this, and they were definitely we want to keep our single-family neighborhood as a single-family neighborhood, but I'll let him talk to you,
I
and
mean,
they can
single
poll
family
Ocean.
well, medium
But-
density still allows single family, so that's not a.
No, not to allow, but to restrict, so it's R1. They would prefer it. I'll let you talk to him directly. I won't get in the middle of it.
The other two that staff is not, one was regarding Night Heron Park and the recommendation to go to commercial for future land use designation. I just want to highlight that will be inconsistent. I mean, I think the intent based on the Nest property being more of a commercial area, but recall that property has now been no longer two individual properties, and so it's now all part of the open space of that park. And so that designation of changing that entire parcel to commercial, staff would support changing that entire park area to commercial. But if there was something, if you guys wanted to look at narrowing some type of overlay, we can explore that.
The Parks and Recreation do allow for the nest.
Correct.
So-
That's the zoning, correct. I'm thinking about the future land use designation, still remaining in the active recreation and open space.
Who recommended that it go to commercial?
think that was one of Mr. Farrell's thing, I believe so. Yeah, I think Mr. Farrell made that in one of his notes to us, yeah.
Okay, I'll ask him
You
why.
said you had one other, John?
And the other was Captain Sam's. Of course, we have talked about this at length. The recommendation was to go to conservation for Captain Sam's. And you all have, maybe Gene and John, who haven't been on the commission as long, during the end of the development agreement, that rezoning process, been in tune with the conversations of that particular change to low-density residential, but you all recall that that parcel has been split. At least one portion of that, the beachfront area of that, has been subdivided out of that. So this would just be something I think that we can discuss, whether all or just a portion of that be conservation. So I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention.
Okay.
We've avoided that.
We avoided that. And so I would say, as we did state at the time that when we were going to do our exercise of the comprehensive plan, we would revisit it. So I'm just letting y'all know that we're at that period now.
Has there been any movement on the conveyance? I know that sort of got stalled.
There's been no updates on the conveyance at this stage, y'all, to my knowledge. I'll leave it at that. As stated, staff will be working through the document with some additional comments, and we anticipate getting back at least before our February meeting with you guys, or a subgroup of this group, to continue this process. Any other kind of questions on Kiwa Next?
I think that's fair enough.
Okay.
So you're going to schedule a subgroup meeting?
Yes, at some point, yeah, correct.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Next is new business. And as the rules of procedure states, Article 1, Section 3, that the first meeting of the year is when we elect new officers. And we'll be doing that today. We'll start with the chairperson. Do we have a nominee?
Well, can I first make a motion, Bill?
Certainly can.
Okay, I've given this a lot of thought, and it just doesn't seem appropriate for commissioners or members that are stepping down to have an active role in choosing new leadership on the commission. So the motion I'd like to make is to postpone the election of our officers until our next scheduled meeting in February, and to extend the term of our vice chair until that time, so that we can have new members vote on who our leadership will be and make sure we have the community interests at heart here.
So what you're saying is you'd rather have new people come in and vote for people they've never met before?
Those new people are going to be asked to vote on a lot of things, but they could be asked to vote on subdivisions next meeting. They'll be asked to vote on the Kiwa Next plan. Certain members of the commission have had an active role in selecting who those new members will be. I think they'll be as qualified as myself, John, and all other members on the commission to carry out our responsibilities, honestly. I think they should have a role in choosing our new officers.
I have no doubt they would be qualified. I think we've got great people coming in. So
Yeah.
if we have a motion to, you're saying to table it, delay it? What are you
I'm saying a
calling it?
motion to table the election of officers until our February meeting, and to extend the vice chair's term until that time, so that we have continuing coverage.
Let me ask legal, from a legal perspective, this is the way we've done it for the last 15 years. We follow the rules of procedure, and over the 15 years, I've been here 12 years, and there's been a number of times where we had people go in, people come out for all of the committees on the island. So give us your input.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have done a good bit of research on this, and just to give everyone the simple answer, this is a policy question. From a legal perspective, state law gives extreme deference to the Planning Commission, and the PC is what we call a self-governing body. You have the ability to make your rules, enforce your own rules, amend your own rules when it comes to procedure. So that motion is certainly acceptable from a legal perspective. If that motion was considered, what we would recommend doing is that at the next meeting, you formally incorporate some amendments into your written rules. You can certainly discuss those today and make suggestions. But from a legal perspective, we will say that this is really just a policy question. So that motion is acceptable. If you do want to vote today, that would also be acceptable. So it's really up to the commissioners as to how you'd like to proceed.
Okay. I have no problem with accepting the motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, let's have a vote.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, my reason for seconding this is that, based on my experience on a lot of different committees, I've never seen an outgoing group elect the next set of officers for a group. And, KICA doesn't do that. The town really doesn't do that. When the town council votes to elect, when there's a change at the town council and they re-elect, or they elect a new, mayor pro tem, the outgoing councilman doesn't participate in the election of the new person. So I just have never seen it before where outgoing people vote to establish sort of the management of the group going forward. It seems odd to me.
Okay.
I'd like to give for the benefit of the community and people who aren't familiar, because Bill is right. This is how it has been done. But we are in a little bit of a different administrative snafu this time that is different. It used to be, back up. In October, a note went out to the community saying there are going to be 2 spots open, asking for applications, saying you're going to be interviewed, you will be seated at the January meeting, which is how it has always been done in the past, and then this would be our standard administrative agenda. Well, in that interim, the mayor slowed it down and discovered that, in fact, remember, we all thought you guys were leaving, and we were, Larry had already started to give the
Eulogy, come on.
the thank yous and everything, and then it came, and, Andy had talked about it. But then it came out that their terms were at the end of January.
Yeah.
So that created a disconnect between our rules of procedure and the way we have done it for 15 years and how we need to do it going forward. So I agree with a good governance, outgoing people don't vote. I can't believe you'd want to, because it's just not the way government, whether you're, and all of us have been in business, nonprofit, governmental organizations, it doesn't work that way, and it wouldn't be right. It's not good governance. So we could do a couple of things. We could table it, which is one option, and vote in February, which is acceptable. If people are insistent on wanting to vote now, I would ask that the 2 outgoing recuse, because it's just, okay.
You can ask for that, Joanne, but at the bottom line, what you're asking for is you don't want the election today because you think there'll be different people voting next month that will give you an outcome that you desire.
No, that is not
Okay,
true.
in
That is
in
flat
that
out
case-
not true.
In that case, we have a motion and we have a second. So at this time, we will vote.
And also, I might say, if we do vote today, I think there will be a motion, we'll have to amend our rules of procedure, and that this vote may be good for this month, and we may have to vote again next month anyway.
Let me
Okay.
suggest one thing. With respect to the motion, I didn't hear that motion to include a change in the agenda. Our agenda calls for a vote today based on the principles that would have been in place for years. Not only that, but if the agenda change was proposed, that would itself require a vote, and we can start there if you want to. My other comment would be to Joanne's point, you can bring as many people on a committee as you want. Not one of them will have the ability to speak to any ability of people existing on the committee as to what they know, what their capabilities are, and who should be suggested to lead the future committee. The policy has been in place for years. It takes time for people to understand what the role of a commissioner is. New commissioners coming in, let me tell you, it would take them, and it happens unfortunately to be the case now throughout the town, where you have one-year committee terms. It takes people a year to find where the bathroom is, never mind understand what their role is going to be. And you're asking people to vote on it when they don't even know what the committee does. So I certainly would not vote to change the rules or to amend the agenda in this case.
Well, as I pointed out, this is a good governance issue.
I don't think it's a debate. I think you made your comment, I made mine.
And point of order, a motion to table an agenda item is an appropriate procedure.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of the commissioners to table this, please say aye.
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 No,
I count 3. All those opposed?
no,
Aye.
no.
Or opposed? No?
No.
No.
4. 4 to 3, the motion fails. We will move forward with the election of our 2025 officers. Do I have a nominee for the chairperson?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Dr. Kern for the chairperson. Let me give you some of my thinking on this. I think that, first of all, I did some research in anticipation of this meeting, and I asked what the role of the Planning Commission is vis-a-vis the Town Council. And what it says is that they operate independently. The Planning Commission operates independently of the Town Council. Now there are reasons for that, and there were 5 reasons that were enumerated. First of all, specialized focus. We're supposed to become the experts on land use and zoning and urban planning, and the Town Council obviously can't spend all its time doing that. We're supposed to do that. Second and important is that it's an advisory role. We understand that. While the commission operates independently, it serves an advisory role to the Town Council. The Town Council can always change, modify, kick back what the Planning Commission recommends to it. So it means we're acting independently. We provide recommendations based on the procedures we follow, and then the Town Council does what it chooses to do. Third, and important one, is it's public input and transparency. The Planning Commission often holds public hearings and meetings to gather input from the community. This process ensures that the planning conditions are made transparently and with community involvement. So one of our roles is to make sure that we get the community, all the community, as much as possible involved and have an opportunity to comment on and participate in the process. Number 4, another important one, it's the checks and balances. Having an independent planning commission provides a system of checks and balances. It ensures the planning decisions are made based on technical expertise and community needs rather than political considerations. And 5th, we're supposed to have the long-term vision, and that's what we're trying to do with the strategic plan. It's been, and to your point, Joanne, and I appreciate your point, is that there's been, I began to question whether we were operating independently of the Town Council over the last 60 days. And so I feel that I think Ron, first of all, Dr. Kern has been on the commission 3 years now? 2 years. He's participated in a significant number of the subcommittees. He's been involved in all the major decisions. One of the things that Ron brings to the plate is that he is got a balanced approach. He takes a look at the entire issue from all the constituencies and and a 360-degree view of what the issues are. He also is a very strong communicator, and he's got a great way of getting people to work together. I think that in the best interest, and whether they believe it or not, I think in the best interest of the Town Council and the best interest of the community to have that independent function and somebody with a balanced approach like Ron. So that's why I'm nominating him.
I second the nomination.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, with that, we will vote, and who all is in favor of our next chairperson being Dr. Kern? please say aye.
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 4. Okay, opposed? Okay, we have 4. Dr. Kern, congratulations, you'll be our chairman for 2025. Next is the nominee for vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate Larry Iwan for vice chairman, to continue as vice chairman.
Any other nominees?
I'll second that nomination.
Okay. All those in favor of Larry Iwan continuing as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
I guess I have to since I nominated Ron. Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Congratulations, Vice Chairman. You will continue as Vice Chair.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Okay. John, would you take us through staff comments, please?
Yes, just a very brief updates here. You all have been notified, at least in the past, that tomorrow originally was scheduled for the Charleston County Planning and Public Works Committee would be considering the medical village on Betsy Carrison in its committee form on tomorrow. That meeting has been postponed to March 9th, March 6th.
6th.
March 6th, I'm sorry. The applicant has requested to remove that from the agenda, so that's been moved to the March meeting. The other items regarding zoning amendments, this is an update regarding pervious surfaces. Due to the timing of our last meeting, we haven't been able to, with coming up to the holidays, we haven't been able to engage formally with the private sector to provide the additional kind of context that you guys requested regarding the potential impacts to changes in the ordinance. What we have been working on in-house is providing a little bit more, what I would say, context to the ordinance that would give you understanding of the proposals that have been recommended so far. And so that would entail what elements of a parking lot and drive aisles, what would be considered pervious versus impervious. And that gives you guys, I think, a better, clear picture of understanding what the intent of the ordinance would move forward with. And so we intend to have that information coupled with a few independent studies of collecting cost data directly from some of the private sector. The additional ordinance, the tree ordinance, will be going to town council next month. And so your work that you've done to make that recommendation for our tree ordinance, that will go to town council's agenda for first reading and public hearing. The other thing I wanted to note, some minor progress on just engaging at town council in November meeting. We heard from the communication towers and cell towers. Will continue to do internal studies to try to advance that to be able to bring a recommendation forth. You all, if you did tune into yesterday's town council meeting, Ms. Kay, Councilwoman Kay, identified that there'll be potential restructuring to our format of our marsh management committee or work group. And so that will take sort of some new form in identity and structure, but that's yet to be determined. So we'll hold off on making any new meetings or recommendations. We have been working still with those particular ordinances, so we do anticipate to bring back to February's meeting, hopefully if we can get that marsh management work group to quote unquote give their support is or at least introduce it to you guys if we have not received that report from the marsh management work group yet, is looking at our buffers, and that's increasing our buffer ordinance. Today it's 10 feet. We're recommending that those go to 15 feet. In addition to that, we're now in the year 2025. We set out a goal to be done with our comp plan a year ago. That will still be the priority, at least for this first quarter for planning staff. In addition to that, once we kind of get in that to a state where we feel that it's already a approvable state, an overhaul of our zoning code is the next big project. So buckle up, get ready for that particular project. We'll be looking at our zoning code.
Let me ask you one question. What's the day? Didn't we come up with a drop dead date of like March something or other that we had,
think it was
but based on having it meet the state requirements?
The state requirements goes by the 10 years of our adoption day, so technically it would be till September, I believe, of
Oh, September,
25.
okay.
So
Okay, I thought it was-
we're in the framework of our technical. We don't want to be in September approving this, so
Okay.
that's the goal objective there. The other note that I'll make is just sort of a thank you on behalf of the planning department to Mr. Dowdy, Mr. Capelli, who have been in service to the town a great number of years. We just say thank you for your service to the planning in this community. It's been great working with you, gentlemen, since I've been here as part of the town and even prior to with the county. So just a personal thank you. That's all.
And John, quick
Thank you,
question?
John.
Yep.
So in yesterday's council meeting, Councilmember Kay was mentioning that she's doing some independent studies as well regarding the pervious surfaces, looking at a number of driveways, private residences within her neighborhood for cost comparison purposes. Is that being incorporated into what you're doing here with the Planning Commission, or is that separate and apart from?
Yes, I mean, she's doing it independently, but we have been in communications to make sure that we're on the same page as the next recommendation or details come back to you guys. If that,
Okay,
if
so
that's
that
clear.
data
That
will
would be
potentially be available
a-
to us as well?
Yeah, that would be an added value, and we've reached out to her to, once she has that information, provide it to the community, you guys specifically, so that you guys have that information to take into when you consider that again.
Awesome, thank you.
John, can you give us an update on the Andell West property and the status of the permits?
Endo West, I have no information on Endo West. That's been a project that we haven't heard any formal updates on that particular project in quite some time now.
How about also in the same Ocean Pines and the Mingo Dock?
So Mingo Dock, I don't have, know that they began work already this past month. I'm not sure if they've completed that work. Do you know, Daniel, if they've completed work? Well, we can touch bases with the resort to see if they've completed that work at Mingo. We know that they, December when they did start that work for Mingo. Ocean Pines was
That's, the Mingo is all approved?
Yeah, so that was approved sometime last fall, late summer. They just had delayed to get started based on the season. Yeah.
Has the settlement been approved and released to the public?
So there's one of those have been, and that was one update that was provided yesterday at town council meeting. That was regarding, if you all recall, the non-conforming section of our ordinance that was amended. Town council did approve that settlement yesterday regarding the timbers. That was approved. The other has not been approved at this stage. They're working through the final exhibits of that particular consent order, which would then be filed with the courts. And so it's just putting dotting the i's, crossing the t's, just one sort of final check with each of the parties to make sure that the exhibits match up to what the language are. And our attorneys will update us on once that gets through the formal process of the courts.
But as far as distribution of the settlement to the public, any indication when that's going to take place?
That won't occur until that goes through the formal process. So that's still a protected sort of under the mediation auspices until that has been formalized through the courts.
So once the court approves it, it can be released?
To my
It'd have
knowledge,
to go back to town council?
It'd be public.
refrain that would allow a legal counsel to provide that, but I believe so that's correct, that until that gets approved by a judge, then it's still under that protected mediation.
John, we need to circle back to new business for the approval of the rules, procedures we skipped over.
Yes. In your materials, our rules procedure annually at the beginning of each year, the Planning Commission takes a look at to see if there are any particular changes. Based on today's meeting, I anticipate that there will be some recommended changes. So if you guys want to make a motion to make any of those today, or you guys feel that you would table this until our next meeting, pleasure is the commission.
I'd like to wait because I think there are some rules that need to be changed, and I think we might want to work with the lawyers and make sure we get the wording correct.
So if you want to make that motion.
I'll make a motion that we possibly send out, by the rules of procedure, we can send out amendments a week prior to the next meeting. or we can just discuss them at the next meeting. I'll defer to Mac, but we do need to, the situation that arose this year is unique. It hasn't happened before. We wound up disenfranchising our 2 new members, which is an issue. And there are a couple other little things that need to be changed. We might want to, we're supposed to get our agendas 7 business days ahead. We got this agenda less than 48 hours ahead, which didn't give us time to put forth some of these amendments that might have avoided some of the issues we face today. So maybe 7 business days is too much. I would go with maybe 5 business days, but less than 48 hours is contrary to our rules. So I think we need to do that. One of our new members who has read these in detail pointed out something about media and making announcements to news media, and she's right that that might be a bit archaic and predate the digital age, so we need to look at a couple of those wording and sections. So there's some things I think that need to be addressed here.
Okay, so can you make that motion, and then I would say, from a staff perspective, what we can do process-wise is if you guys have particular comments, if you guys can send this to us, I can share with our legal staff those particular suggested amendments, and we can put them in the document so that we can be able to discuss them. So that would be what I would suggest.
I second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good idea, John. Okay. Thank you for your updates, John. When we back to public comments once again.
Did you?
Sherry, want a second chance? Yep. All right.
John didn't address, I asked about Ocean Pines.
Oh, you had a question? Just,
I thought kind of it was in a similar bucket to following up on the final approval of the consent order based on the mediation. And so Ocean Pines is one of those site plans that's included in that. And so
Okay.
until we get those approved, and those formal approvals won't be granted just yet. Yeah.
Once again, Sherry Gallagher, 119 Spartina Court. By voting today, I think you are disrespectful to the 2 new oncoming members of this committee. They should be able to have an input in the leadership of the group that they're going to be participating in. So I think it's very unfortunate that that happened today. I hope that never happens again. The other thing is, I thought I was coming here for development project updates. I would like to see some more updates on the Upper Beachwalker parcels. I understand that ARB has approved all of the plans for what it will look like, and the community has not seen that. Is it on the website, maybe? Is it available for us, and I haven't seen it? Mm-hmm.
So that's part of that mediation package.
I don't know anything about that.
So ARB may be able to approve it, but we've been, we're in a lawsuit right now, so what he's talking about is that we're in mediation for upper and lower, and we can't release anything until the settlement agreement is complete. So we're almost complete with the settlement. And then we'll be able to release it.
thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Yeah, Stephanie.
I wrote mine down, so I'm going to read from my phone. Okay, Stephanie Tillerson, Town Administrator, Kiowa Island. It's not really public comment, but it's just a thank you message that I want to read. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you both, Bill and Andy, for your dedication and service to this board over the past 10 years. Your commitment, expertise, and leadership have made a lasting impact on our community, shaping its growth and future. We truly appreciate the time, effort, and thoughtfulness you've brought to every decision. While we will miss your presence on the board, your contributions will not be forgotten. Thank you for your years of service and all you've done to make a difference. Thank you both, and thank you on behalf of the town.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. Commissioner comments. John, start with on the screen up there.
The only thing I would like to say is I would have preferred to be there in person to thank you, Bill, and to thank Andy for your commitment. I know it's been many, many years, and it's much appreciated. So thank you.
And know that we're thinking about Linda, and we're hoping for a speedy
Yes.
recovery.
Yeah, she's still in ICU, but we've seen a little bit of progress the last 2 days, so we're keeping our fingers crossed that she might get out at some point soon, so we'll see.
Please keep us updated, John.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the screen, Gene.
Sure thing. Bill and Andy, thank you both for your service to the Town and the Planning Commission. Bill, thank you especially for getting me through the interview process, supporting me, and getting me on the commission. I am truly grateful to you and hope to carry on the legacy that you've established with the commission. Further congrats to Dr. Ron and Larry in your new roles. We'll support you in those roles and make sure that this commission is successful in everything that we do.
Thank you, Gene. Hope you get more snow in the next few weeks.
Thank you for that.
Dr. Curran.
Andy?
Oh, all right. Andy.
Couple points, if you bear with me. One, I appreciate the comments and thanks received for service. It's been 20 years, so it gives me a chance to say no the next time somebody asks if I want to volunteer for anything. But let me first congratulate both of our new ongoing leaders, not ours, but the future commission's leaders. Got particular appreciation and understanding for Ron, having worked with him over the last couple of years, but more so not only for the time we've worked together, but for just being around doctors recently and finding out how caring and how thoughtful and willing to go the extra mile to get the right answer. So for that, I appreciate it. Larry, condolences. I mean, another year working with this.
Another year, Vice Chair.
Another year as vice chair. Unfortunately, you're going to have to bear with it. The problem you're going to have is, as you've already seen, the law respecting, and this is the last comment, the law respecting the Planning Commission and suggesting, and as well as respecting, but suggesting the role of the Planning Commission is one that right now is at, I would think, at a very critical standpoint as far as the town of Kiowa. The Planning Commission is not viewed as the law outlines it, and we have not yet understood from the town exactly what their thinking is about the Planning Commission law. But all we know, every time we turn around, they seem to be violating it. The fact is, the Planning Commission is not a political body. The town may be, or it is getting to be, or it shouldn't be, but the fact is, it is. The Planning Commission is not. The Planning Commission has a specific agenda. We make recommendations. We have to be objective as individuals. We have to be objective as a group. We should not necessarily kowtow to any even approach to be managed by some other group, by some other person or group. We have to think out of the box, yes, but we have to think for the benefit of the entire community, not for individuals. And I would encourage not only the future members, but maybe some of the existing members to reread the law, and understand exactly what you're required to understand and what you can and can't do. The fact is, that's not been the case recently. My 20 years on the commission suggests that maybe the last 2 or 3 years, maybe 4, have been really a battle against the establishment. What the establishment is, you define it any way you want. I'll start it with the town council and go forward. But the fact is, the Planning Commission has not been allowed to do its job, nor has it been allowed to do the work that the law requires it to do. So with that, I offer my best wishes for success going forward and hope the new council really understands what their role is. It's far greater than what anybody will let you think. Do it and do it right, but understand what it is. And that's key for anybody, the new people as well as the old. And for that, I do thank you again for all the support I've been given over the years.
Thank you, Andy.
In a kind of a twisted way, I'm going to miss these, these lectures that we get at the end of the session. I do want to say, I did do research, and the Planning Commission is got a difficult job, and these two guys, through their time, did a wonderful job of trying to execute what our role was. First of all, we are, we are advisory board to the town council, but we're independent of the town council. We are the window into things that we deal with that the citizens get to participate in, make comments, and it's our job to encourage it and to take it into consideration. We're also representing some people who actually don't vote in the town elections. We're talking about the part-time residents who have a vested interest because they're property owners, and the businesses that the resort and the businesses that are part of it. They don't have a vote, but they do have rights, and those rights. It's up to us to make sure that what we're doing respects those rights in the context of what is our goal or our objective for the town overall. So I want to thank those three things I want to say three things for each of them. Andy, when I first came on board, was the archivist. Whenever we had, why did we do that, he would have the answer. So I really appreciated his ability to give us what do we do and why do we do it. Second, for the last several years, I respected his role as being the minority view. And in that minority view needs to be considered and be, let's say not considered, but yes, considered, in order for us to really understand fully 360 what an issue is and what the attended and unintended consequences are. And lastly, for the courage to defend it, even though he knew he was tilting at windmills. So, Andy, I thank you. And Bill, I have three things to say for Bill. First of all, Bill, I've watched Bill for the last several years, and he's got an allness kind of gene. He just wants everybody to come in and participate. I've seen him when somebody said something and then sat down and said, "Oh, I've got something else to say." Bill would never say, "I'm sorry, you've had your time," or he included it. So he really encouraged and allowed people to have their say. Secondly, openness. Bill has been absolutely open to me anyway, and I think to everybody with regard to what we're doing on the commission. And finally, commitment. This man attended most of, either through Zoom or in person, the town council meetings. He comes to he made a commitment, and I appreciate that too. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you. Very kind words. Thank you. Dr. Curran.
I too want to congratulate both Andy and Bill and thank them for their years of service and dedication to the town and also to all the people of Kiowa Island. I also would add for those characteristics that Larry just went through, endurance. I can't believe the number of years, 20 years, wow. It's a long time. I want to say that I'm looking forward to 2025. My 2 years, I think we've had a very productive 2 years. I think we've learned a lot by listening to the people who come to the meetings. When we went through the rezoning of the upper and lower Beachwalker, we learned a lot from the constituents who came to the meeting and expressed their opinions. Similarly, when we did the tree ordinance, we listened. We got instruction from the ARB. We heard from many of the tree professionals. And when we listened, I think we were able to produce a much better document. So I think one of our biggest jobs is to listen and serve the community, just as it says on our procedures. As I said, I don't have any personal agenda when it comes to this position. I look forward to working with everyone on the commission. I really want to hear everyone's opinions, and I hope that we can work together as a team and really, again, be productive over the next year. And I really, feel like we have a lot of great projects on our plate with the pervious surfaces and stormwater management. And, I think we do need to obviously get this comprehensive plan finished. I think we're at the point where it's just got to be done soon. And so I look forward to completing that over the next month and moving on to some of these other projects. That's it.
Thank you. Joanne?
I look forward to working, going forward with the new board. I don't see us as political. I've never seen us as political. I don't even see the town council as political. I think everybody on these boards and councils have a goal of working for the best interests of Kiowa. We are an independent body. I think all of us are independent thinkers, and I personally don't think talking to town council members in any way inhibits that independence. Quite the contrary, I think the whole thing with the KIA, we're trying to improve communications. And I know that was directed at me because I'm one of the people who does talk a lot to town council members because I want to hear what they have to say. I may not agree with them. It doesn't affect what we do here on planning, but I view that we are all on the same team. And we need to work together, and we need to work with the town council because we are an advisory body, and, we want them to follow our advice. We are not ruled by them, and I in particular, since I know this was directed at me, I in particular don't follow anybody's rules if I don't agree with them. I mean, if there is a position on something that affects the town and I agree with it, I will advocate for it. If I disagree with it, I will have a discussion as to why I disagree, and you talk it through and try and come to an agreement, or you agree to disagree. But we will continue to be an independent body and work for the best interests of Kiowa, and hopefully with good governance going forward. And thank you to all.
Thank you, Joanne. Well, in wrapping up, it's been a sincere pleasure working with these commissioners and serving the last 12 years. I've seen a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, and it's been a pleasure. Andy, we've been together for a long time, and first meeting I came to, and Andy went off on a tangent, and I thought, my God, where's this man going? But then I listened. A lot of wisdom, and always wanted to do the right thing. And that was a learning experience for me. And I'm very happy. I've met the two people that are being sent to our town council for approval for incoming members. I feel good about both of them. And I think will be a great addition to our planning commission. My last advice would be, I heard the word several times, stay independent. It is key to stay independent. Is it okay to go and talk to a town council member? Absolutely. But if you don't like something, don't go to the mayor and try to get the mayor to run your in and around for you. That's not serving your fellow commissioners well. You owe it to your commissioners to have a body of 7, not 2 or 3 subsets, a body of 7. And if you don't agree, after the meeting, when everybody leaves this room, those 7 should go in a corner and work it out. But no one should be carrying water for anyone. My opinion. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Second.
Second.